Hold on, I wanna wait. Everyone to get seated here.
I got you. Just slightly. The May 23rd, 2022 meeting of the Recreation Education Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chairman Alcoffer.
Here.
Chairman Alcoffer is present. Mr. Baines. Here. Mr. Baines is present. Mr. McCabe is excused. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Here. Vasquez Simmons is present. Mr. Hebert. Here. Mr. Hebert is present. President Lamar. Here. President Lamar is present.
I have a very short announcement. The clerk's office is happy to announce the audiovisual professionals have completed the necessary adjustments needed to address the live microphones when streaming on YouTube. Going forward, all microphones should only be considered live when unmuted by the clerk's office when legislators obtain the floor. The clerk's office will continually monitor each microphone in case of any lapse or gaps that may have been missed. Thank you. Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
There is not.
We do now have a short presentation by Pat Gooch, Senior Planner for the Monroe County Planning and Development Department. We'll now give a brief description on the overview of the 2023-2028 Capital Improvement Program as it pertains to the Recreation Education Committee. Mr. Gooch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You should all have a copy of the recommended 2023-2028 CIP. This report reflects the culmination of an 11-month process beginning in late summer, with departments proposing a 6-year funding plan for capital projects. A committee reviews the proposed projects and requires changes based on project priority and fiscal constraints on the program. After review by the county executive, the CIP is submitted to the county planning board. The planning board reviews the CIP, holds a public hearing, and sets priorities for the capital budget year, which is the first year of the CIP, or 2023. The planning board returns the draft CIP to the county executive, who then submits the recommended CIP to your honorable body. At the June meeting of the legislature, you will set a public hearing for July, and then, upon your favorable review, vote to adopt the plan. There are no funding approvals associated with taking action on this referral. There are 4 sections of the CIP pertinent to the committee: Monroe Community College, the library, the Parks Department, and the zoo. MCC's funding plan, which begins on page 11, contains 9 projects, 3 of which are new. Note that all county funding for MCC is matched by the state. MCC's program accounts for 14.5% of the total capital program. Turning to the Monroe County Library System on page 20, Monroe County Library System is an association of autonomous local public libraries working together to provide library services for residents of Monroe County. The MCLS requests for capital projects are limited to system-wide service, such as maintaining the automation of library services and the trucks that carry books from one library to another. This project will be funded with county cash. Please see the CIP supplement. The library program accounts for 0.2% of the total capital program. The 6-year program for county funding of the Parks Department and Seneca Park Zoo begins on page 53. The general referral for the Parks Department is to update a master plan and then design and implement recommendations from the master plan update. These recommendations usually include accessibility improvements, trail rehabilitation, lighting upgrades, and similar projects. There are 10 parks projects in the CIP. Oatka Creek Park Master Plan Update is new in 2028. The Parks programs accounts for 2.5% of the recommended capital program. The schedule and amount of funding for the zoo's tropical exhibit and main entry plaza project changed from the adopted CIP. This program leverages private funding from the nonprofit Seneca Zoo Society in the state of New York. In the CIP, the zoo accounts for 13.2% of total program. Thank you, and I will address any questions as this comes to your agenda.
Do you have any questions from any of the legislators? Next, we'll have the approval of the minutes. The next item on the agenda, you have for you, they will stand approved unless the clerk is notified by any changes by the end. Next item on the agenda is new business. Mr. Clerk.
21-0161, adopt the 2023, 2020 through 2028 capital improvement program.
Moved by legislator Herbert, and a second by legislator Baines. Is there any discussion? Pardon me? You also second? Okay. President Lamar. Is there any discussion? Legislator Hebert.
I wasn't clear how they were being funded. There was one substantial one related to the zoo, adding an aquarium and I believe it was called a rainforest exhibit. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but it was something like that. Can you please address how that will be added to the CIP?
The chair, those were not brought up in the 2023-2028 CIP as they will be amended in the 2022-2027 CIP. So therefore, they are not the subject of these referrals tonight.
Okay, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman. Just to clarify then, please, is the entire $120 million supposed to be sent in 2022?
Mr. Chairman, no. This project was, we are seeking a full funding authorization within the next month or so. But the construction that those funds will be spent are expected to span approximately 3 years. It is typical sometimes in these projects that have state funding that we go for the entire cost authorization up front. Normally that's a state requirement. So that's why we will have a referral for the full award.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. And is it also normal that a fully funded project then drops out of the CIP completely?
Mr. Chairman, if there are no future years of authorization sought by the administration, yes, it would drop out of the CIP.
Thank you. I yield the floor.
Discussion? None. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Clerk.
Item 22-0177, acceptance of a grant from New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation for the zoo's Botanical Gardens and Aquariums Program.
Move it, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
President Lamar, seconded by Legislator Hebert. Questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Twenty-two 0178, acceptance of a grant from the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation for the Snowmobile Trail Development and Maintenance Program, and authorized contracts with the Hilton Snow Flyers, Inc., Webster Ridge Runners Snowmobile Club, Inc., Salmon Creek Snowmobile Club, Inc., and Hill and Gully Riders, Inc. for the development and maintenance of trails.
Move it, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Legislator Hebert, seconded by Legislator President Lamar. Any questions? All those opposed, or all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
22 0187, amend the 2022 capital budget to provide increase in funding for the Monroe County Library System Fleet Replacement Project and authorize an interfund transfer.
Move it, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Motion by President Lamar, seconded by Legislator Hebert.
Voted.
Legislator Baines? Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
22 0192, amend the 2022 operating budget to add $1 to admission for individuals receiving food assistance at Seneca Park Zoo.
By Legislator Hebert, second by Legislator President Lamar. You also? Okay. Favor signify by saying aye. Oh, excuse me. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Kind of obnoxious to wordsmith stuff, but this particular, the way this is written, it says we're adding $1 admission. And I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea that what we're trying to do, I believe, is to reduce the admission fee to $1 from the existing ratio of fees for different categories of visitors. And I think it's confusing. So this is a point of clarification for the makers of the motion who drafted this document. I don't know how to remedy that, but you can't move to amend it to the administration, I guess.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, what this referral is doing is adding the $1 fee to the fee schedule. Currently, we don't have the ability to charge someone $1. That's not part of the fee schedule that was approved by this body. This referral is giving us the authorization to do that. So I understand the confusion, but that's mechanically what we're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, and I don't want to do that wordsmith thing, but help myself. I'd also like to make a brief comment and explain my. I just think this is great. And I don't know who took the lead on this, but whoever did has my applause. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Legislator Hebert.
The actual documents that we're voting on don't come out to us until very shortly before legislature, typically, perhaps Monday before full legislature, sometimes an actual Tuesday. This is just an example of why I'd like to see those come out sooner, and I just would make that request to the administration. You know, what comes out of the law office is what we're actually voting on, not the referrals. So I'm sure the law office's documents will be pretty clear that they're adding, and it would help all of us to see that more than 10 minutes before we sit down to vote on it. think last month's package was over 1,000 pages, if I'm not mistaken, and I got it less than a day before. I am a slow reader. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this item? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? Hearing none. There will be no other matters. The May 23rd, 2022 meeting of the Recreation and Education Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Recreation and Education Committee will be held on June 27th, 2022 at 6 PM.